billion-dollar idea.
Co-powered by Citron. Inspired by you.
Hospitality, travel, aviation, automotive, and education. India's fastest growing business conglomerate, Bird Group, has a long history that powers into new ventures. With a collection of high-end luxury hotels and resorts across India and the UK, Bird Group's Roseate properties hit all the high notes of impression and experience. Meet the strategist and the director of the group consortium, Ankur Bhatia. The man with an uncontested market leadership in India. Backed with an understanding and experience in India's travel and service industries. Mr. Bhatia eyes to set new standards in his business and provide world-class hospitality assets in the world.
I'm Jasper Reed, and this is Billion Dollar Idea. We're delighted today to be joined by our latest guest, Ankur Bhatia, business titan, entrepreneur, Delhi legend. Welcome, Ankur.
Thank you, Jasper. Good to see you again.
Great to see you, sitting outside one of your hotels in Delhi. Ankur, you're into multiple business ventures, hotels, automotive, airport infrastructure, tech. The list goes on. How on earth do you find the time for all of this?
Well, Jasper, I mean, as you know, last year has been quite eventful with COVID happening and all our businesses getting affected. And it's obviously given all of us a bit more time to go back, reflect, etc., etc. But having said that, I do have superbly efficient CEOs who actually run my businesses. So once I've sort of done and created a business or got to a particular point, I hand over the reins to the respective CEOs then. That frees up a bit of my time to concentrate more on strategy, on growth, on looking at other opportunities, and of course, industry issues as well.
And tell me, Ankur, do you have a particular favourite business or pursuit? Do you think you're better at one or the other?
I wouldn't say so, Jasper. I think they've, they're like kids, right? I mean, been asked that question several times. I mean, I started my business journey through working on the tech bit of our business, which was, way back in 1992 when BPO, as the word was not even invented, started doing back office for as a joint venture with Lufthansa for Amadeus. And of course, those memories, those experiences, those learnings have been superbly helpful for me and very, very close to my heart as well. So I can't say that one is better than the other. Of course, similar kind of a learning when we started to diversify into hospitality as well. Superb learning around that thing as well. From starting of doing individual hotels, doing acquisitions in the UK, tying up with a brand, and then eventually invaluable. But that's where we are, and I can't say then at that given time that something is better than the other. I mean, just to give you something on top of that, I mean, my daughter always asks me that, Papa, which is your most favorite hotel? And the simile I give back to them is that you're asking me that, do I love you or your brother more? I think these are businesses which you create, and they are like your offsprings, and I don't think you could, differentiate on that.
So fair enough, a family business in shareholding terms, and using the family metaphor to think about the group entities. But Ankur, do you consider yourself to be an industrialist or an entrepreneur, or none of the above?
I haven't gone to the point of calling myself something, Jasper. I think my journey, I'm 48 years of age, in hospitality and the other businesses. Again, I mean, I think I have a long way ahead to go myself. And I'll get to those points for sure. But I think if you were to ask me, I think the entrepreneur cap might fit me more right now of that point, because of the fact that I'm actually looking always at opportunities to grow. I'm always looking at opportunities and new business ventures which can actually get my horizons wider.
Fair enough. So you're sort of you're at the end of day 2 on a 5-day test. But take us back to the first balls of the first innings when you were thinking about getting into the business. Was it always the case you joined the family business? Did you want to run away to the circus, be a sportsman? Take us back to the beginning of the journey.
Okay, I think that's pretty fair. So, Jasper, what had happened with me was that I was born in Delhi, educated in Delhi. My parents had a thriving travel business, and I was always bent towards engineering and software and computers. I just loved that field of business. So, my eventual thought of education was to get into software engineering at that given time. It was 1990s, I think, a very limited amount of people offering that kind of an opportunity. And at the same time, what was happening was that, as I mentioned earlier, the world was opening, back office spaces and areas where, where your workplace was not important was started to happen. My parents had a great working relationship with Lufthansa, and that gave me a good springboard at that given time to start off the first venture, which was doing back office for Amadeus, which is the travel reservation company. And that journey led me on to seeing that to get automation to travel agencies in India as well, because what I saw that given time, that all this process was completely manual. All these process was the fact that you were not getting, it was not efficient at all. While there were issues with connectivity, while there were issues with the internet lines, etc. But there was no internet actually at that given time. So communication used to happen on telephone lines and lease lines, which used to take ages. Bottlenecks, yes. But that got into something of getting Amadeus into the country. Amadeus was not even ready. I think they were very European-centric. So that led to us working in various other areas of travel automation at the airports, at the cargo infrastructure, etc. Then one of the other things I did in between was a bit of retail, was for luxury brands as well as for Segway. Now, of course, luxury brands didn't work for me. It didn't work for a lot of people because of the mechanics and the costs for rentals and all not being in place. I also started hospitality business at the same time. So, I had to fold up the luxury retail, but extended that business into EV businesses. And that's something going on. And now with hospitality.
And so a process of organic growth, but a question we often ask scions of family businesses is whether you believe you could have done it initially, Ankur, without the leg up.
I had a great springboard, Jasper. I think I am thankful to God and to my family for that happened for me. And I think that is very important. But as you see also at the same time, what I did or what I'm doing is something which, I've worked as the first generation entrepreneur of doing that. But just having said that, I would reiterate the fact that a springboard is extremely important. A base is extremely important for you to leapfrog from there. And that's what I also would tell the new generation.
And what's your advice to those, Ankur, that have no springboard?
Jasper, I think things were very different in 1990. Things are very different now in terms of availability of capital, in terms of what kids want to do at this particular time, and venture capital and the capital markets and all. I don't think that I could put a simile what happened 30, 40, 30, 35 years back and actually 30 years back and what's happening now. There is a differentiation. That given time, the dynamics were very different. So if at this given time you have a great idea and you are a startup, there's ample amount of capital available. There is ample amount of people who would be willing to invest in your businesses.
And 30 years ago, Ankur, you were only 18, very different business environment, as you say. But on balance, do you think it's easier now to be an entrepreneur in India or harder?
You know, I would break that question up, Jasper, into two. I think first is about how is it easier to be an entrepreneur now? I think it is easier to be an entrepreneur now because of the way social media, which is the way internet is exploded here. So if you have a great idea, it's easier to become an entrepreneur. Is it easier to become an entrepreneur in India at this particular time? I think India has got its own typicalities. There are two things. One is that yes, you need to have a springboard of a family business coming to you. If it is there, it's superb and it's great. If not, then you need to learn a lot. A lot of entrepreneurs actually spend a bit of time learning, working in other enterprise, working in other companies. I unfortunately did not have that time with me in my hand. I didn't have that experience. So my working online in the business was when I was in my 10th, doing my 10th grade. I mean, during those holidays to work at my parents' travel offices. And I think that was what I learned at that given time. Now, the new generation entrepreneur, but if I talk about my kids, for example, I think they will have the ability to take time and learn in other great organizations which are there to get to the next level.
And in terms of that diversity, Ankur, I mean, you've developed through on-the-job working, building up your own knowledge, but then you expanded overseas. Talk to us a bit about the thought process there and how you see doing business, for example, in the UK versus doing business in India.
Yeah, I think great question as well. I think that too, expanding overseas was always on my cards. And when we started and when I was, looking at hospitality business seriously, I think this opportunity again came up in the UK. It was 2010. But on the hindsight, it's been a good journey working in the UK. We also have overseas offices in the UAE. Again, superb journey working there as well, the way we've worked and we've expanded. I think India has got different priorities, and I think what they did and during this pandemic is superb and great as well. But unfortunately, our industry has not been looked into to the same need as what it is required there. Thankfully, with the cases being there right now, I think we are out of it, and we might just now sail through. But there are a lot of enterprise in our country, smaller restaurateurs, smaller, tour operators, guides and all, which might have not survived. And I think that is a bit sad.
Yes, probably a very decent workout. Let's conclude that. But let's go back, let's go into the tools and techniques that you deploy, Ankur, in your business. You've talked a bit about having capable lieutenants who run the different business verticals. Talk to us about how you've developed that team and how you think they see you as a leader.
Well, because the first part of it, how did I develop that team? So from the IT business, the people I've been working with, the senior management, actually, since I set that business up myself, so we've grown together. I did, to begin my journey there, to go and install PCs and communication lines myself at travel agencies. I think it's the journey which my CEO, who worked with me at that given time as an engineer, did that as well. So I think that journey has been that, so we've learned, we've gone to a particular point and we've seen how we've grown that businesses. How they see me, of course, I think, it's a question better asked from them. But I see that, I'm not a simple taskmaster. I try to get the best and push my people on the limits, may it be for service or excellence or customer satisfaction.
And if you take hospitality, what do you see as the outer limits of this? Would you put a hotel on the moon?
If there's a possibility, of course, yes. If there's a possibility in the future, if science allows us, for sure, why not? But now going ahead, Jasper, I think we've got ourselves established with our 6 hotels, owned and operated. We've got another 3 owned and operated under development right now, and which is in Hyderabad, Jaipur. Now we are looking at also looking at management as well. So we are in high-level talks with multiple owners who are in brownfield stage right now to brand and operate these hotels for a long term.
Okay, so it's about the pursuit of excellence. It's about taking, the top slot or being in the top few slots. But when you look at the last 25 years, Ankur, are there particular secrets to getting there? Is it a cultural thing? Do you believe in only the paranoid survive? Do you believe it's about tools and technique? What for fellow entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, what would you tease out to tell them?
See, Jasper, the mantra which I follow, there are two things, and I'm a avid devotee of, a saint who used to be in in Central India, Western India, called Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, and he actually professed two things for living a great life. One is faith, and other one is patience. And I think I tend to work around that. So, I need to achieve something. And if you have faith and patience, then, you can achieve whatever you want in any of your goals of life. So I try to do that and try to follow that, to have faith in what I'm doing and be patient. The journey is 30 years old. I mean, the hospitality journey is just started 10 years old. We have a long way to go around that. So I think that philosophy is then carried forward, hopefully, through all the group, and that's what sort of gets it on. So that's what I use particularly that's what we use in our group to get to the point where we are. But you can't say that everybody does that. So I mean, everybody to its own. Everybody thinks and works separately to that. I think that this is what we do.
Okay, let's change direction and talk about the young in India, or frankly any other country. We've seen enormous disruption in the last year for education. We were talking before about your son having a sort of full start at UCL, and you've been living this personally. Is it worth people going to college these days?
Great question as well. I think yes, and I would also say, I mean, while I'm doing this interview, I'm actually doing an online course at Harvard as well. I'm doing the OPM program, and I'm doing it online this year because, I mean, I always wanted to do that, but this year gave me the opportunity to do it online. And I'll have to go back. But I think education is extremely important at any stage of your life to get onto learning. The format for education, I think, for the future is changing. Education is becoming now very much on demand, according to me. If somebody wants to learn something, I have to learn something, my son, my daughter has to learn something. I think YouTube and the internet gives them a lot of ability to find out more about that. But having said that the whole experience of getting into a campus is just a bit more than just education. I think it's about peer-to-peer networking. It's about learning how to live independently. And I think that's what my son's missing right now.
Here's hoping. As a man who spent probably half his time in the pub at college, I sympathise with the idea it's about more than education. Let's you talked about technology a tiny bit. Let's talk a bit about more about technology. If you look at tech and all that's doing to disrupt the world, Ankur, do you see tech as a maker of jobs or frankly a taker of jobs?
I think, Jasper, we passed that stage now. From I think that this was this was a thought what you just mentioned. I think 10 years back when people were thinking internet's going to happen, I'm going to go away with my job. I'll talk about my industry as well. People thought online travel is going to happen, I'll not have any job. But what tech does is actually, in our industry, it did as well, that it actually expanded the industry. It expanded the horizons of people getting and making and looking at the way they were looking in the travel business as well. People thought that the small and mid-sized travel agencies will completely disappear from the planet. No, that hasn't happened. I think that level of service, that level of in-person experience is so valuable that they actually continue to offer that service. And I think for the future as well, while we talk about tech in hospitality as well, I mean, you've seen over this COVID time that people are serving, robots are serving this and that. I don't think in terms of the industry or the space where we are, we would see, tech taking human jobs. I think the human jobs will definitely become more efficient going, and tech will support that in the future. But I don't think it's replaceable. And as things happen, the industry expands and more jobs are created.
Fair enough. And if just going back to India, even before COVID, one of the great national challenges is the gainful employment of tens and hundreds of millions of people. COVID hasn't helped that. But are you bullish on the future of employment in India? And what would your advice be to our leaders or policymakers?
See, I always was always was somebody was prophesying the fact that our human resource is our greatest asset. And that's happened in the past, where we've had India construct or be itself as the back office of the world, the software center of the world, etc., etc. So there is definitely, a scope for us to get to that particular point. Of course, as you rightly mentioned, COVID has not helped in the last 1 year, but we were on the right path. I mean, if you look at hospitality as well, what is the share which India had pre-COVID of international arrivals? 4-5%? Or even lesser, I would say even 1%. So, and what is the potential? Huge. And to have these people come in, what do we require? We would require manpower. We would require people coming into the industry, getting themselves trained or getting themselves trained to make themselves available for this new surge which will happen in the future. And it will happen, Jasper, for sure. It is just a matter of time now. I think things will get settled, hopefully, from COVID, and things are going to move ahead. And our human resource, and specifically with the push of the internet and availability of the internet, I think it's giving them the scope of doing the learnings, of giving them the scope of getting themselves ready for the future.
Okay, so again, a bit of faith and patience in the Indian story. This is, of all the countries on earth that plays a long game, I think you could say India's a long player. Ankur, we're just in the final straight now. A few things about you. Do you have any personal daily habits and routines, things that you've stuck to down the years that you find a counterbalance to work?
Yeah, I think from one side, I think health is extremely important. I had the virus. I just had fever for 1 day. So thankful for that, and I came out of that. I think so. As I mentioned, health is extremely important. I do meditate morning and evenings both. So to get a bit of a balance in the daily stresses of working, specifically in India as well. So I think that sort of helps me as well. I'm not a great reader, but I'm a great learner. So I try to learn through videos or whatever that might exist over the internet for myself. And I do take time out. So if I'm at, obviously there's still work from home happening. And I've actually created a little space in my house for that aspect. But once I'm out of that, I don't enjoy or I don't recommend mixing business or work with family or pleasures. I sort of keep that very, very separate.
Okay, fair enough. And just a couple more things, Ankur, and then we'll let you go. Any personal heroes? And you can't say your parents.
Well, they are there as well. There's no doubt about that. But I think everybody. All great leaders are great heroes in their aspect of doing that. I don't have anybody in particular who I can pinpoint and say that I follow that particular person. Lately Elon Musk has done brilliantly well for himself and the communities and the world as a whole. But there are several others as well.
Maybe you'll be running Mr. Musk's hotels on the moon for him.
Let's hope so, or on his starship.
Fair enough. Last question, Ankur. You're probably not even halfway through your career, so it's premature to look at this. But when you're done and dusted, putting your feet up, thinking about the journey that went before, how do you want people to remember you?
I think, Jasper, the remembrance I'd like to leave behind is specifically with hospitality would be the brand. And if I can actually inculcate the brand ethics from the hospitality side of business into the brand, to the effect that passes through generations, and the brand goes through that, I think I'd be a happy man.
Well, we shall wish you luck, Ankur Bhatia, and we hope that Roseate will be there in many generations to come. We can see it behind you. It's a beautiful achievement. Congratulations on everything you've done, and we shall see you soon. Thank you, Ankur Bhatia.
Thank you, Jasper. Thank you. God bless.
$1 idea.
Co-powered by Citroën. Inspired by you.
Reporting from the line of fire is about instinct. It's about sensing the hostility